So before I get into the next song, there needs to be a bit of explanation. There's actually a discrepancy between the original soundtrack and the script that I have. And the first big one is actually that after Get Me What I Need in the script is Opportunity. And in the original soundtrack, Opportunity happens after the fiasco at the movie theater. And I can't necessarily speak on whether Opportunity works better or worse before or after the event. I mean, I've read the script, and I know that it works well enough, but I also think that it works afterwards. One thing that I will say, just to address this, is that I feel that when Opportunity is put before the movie fiasco, it just kind of ups the bitchiness of Lucy. And this can be either a good thing or a bad thing. In this particular version, she's already plotting to take Brett away from Kendra. And we do already get that briefly during Hey Kendra, and also during the Getting Ready song. But singing the song, she blatantly states that she's planning on taking Brett from Kendra. And when it's put after, it's slightly different, but obviously I'll explain that when we get to it. Because I'm going to be going with the version of the original soundtrack, so, that's been briefly mentioned, and I'm going to mention any other discrepancies along the way. But for now, let's go ahead and dive right in to the next song. This song is very sad. And really, it's the first real sad song that we've seen. The other songs have been all upbeat and cheerful and a wacky, fun musical. And this one isn't. And trust me, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. In fact, there's everything right with that. If this had been nothing but a wacky, fun, sitcom-ish musical, while there's nothing wrong with that, it wouldn't be as interesting. So, what happened to bring us to this point? Evan is, of course, trying to throw the best bar mitzvah ever so that it can be popular, so that his life can be awesome, basically. And as we found out, Patrice isn't particularly popular in this area with the kids. So Evan goes to invite Patrice and everybody else in the school, so Brett and his posse and Kendra and Lucy and all the other popular kids basically say that if he invites Patrice, then they're not coming. And at first it looks like he's going to forget that and just invite Patrice anyway, but as the kids start to leave, Evan, being a kind of stupid 13-year-old, decides to take the invite back from Patrice and tear it up. Keep in mind, this is in front of the entire school. And Patrice, understandably, is a little upset by this. But more than just being upset, she also feels betrayed, and that is where this song comes from. We get the feeling, partly because Patrice basically states it, that this is not the first time that this has happened. This isn't the first time that she's trusted somebody and they've proven themselves to be poor friends. And this song is basically just Patrice explaining what makes a good friend and explaining why Evan isn't a good friend. And it really shows us Patrice's character. Her first song was her being a tour guide. She's very upbeat, very happy, despite the fact that she wasn't popular, and you can almost believe that she's okay with not being popular. But this song is really the indication that she's not. She wants to have friends, she wants to be liked, but for whatever reason, because she can't go with the popular crowd, she doesn't get that many friends. And this final betrayal by Evan is in many ways the straw that breaks the camel's back. And it's interesting because this really does show a contrast to the character of Archie. Archie and Patrice are similar in many ways. They're both very unpopular in the school, and they're both basically their only friends. But Archie has accepted the fact that he's not popular, and he's really not trying to be anything other than himself. And in no way am I saying that Patrice is trying to be more than herself, because she's clearly not, but she's letting the fact that people aren't being friends with her get to her a lot more. And of course this isn't just because Evan has decided that he's not Patrice's friend anymore, it's also that he humiliated her in front of the entire school. Patrice is really one of the most sympathetic characters in this entire play. I mean, Archie's sympathetic too, but a lot of that is just because he does have muscular dystrophy, and because of how manipulative he is, and because of how nonchalant he is, you don't necessarily feel as sorry for him about it. But Patrice, because of her reaction to Evan's betrayal, and because she basically comes right out and says, "I don't have any friends," is just so much more sympathetic. And Evan does get better after a while, it just takes him a very long time. So, that's everything for this week's song. Tune in next week for next week's song. See you then!
A friend.